say you are a finance employee, if you are in a scenario where the business believes that we should spend money, finance believes that we should not spend money, and there is no data available. Rather than challenging the final output, maybe challenge the assumptions. Own the process. Just in terms of what mechanisms we will have to validate. Holding teams accountable to those second, third layer of details will really help them. You are letting them do what they believe they should do, and at the same time, you are holding them accountable. It's a matter of time. You do that once, twice, the business partner will start trusting your judgment.
Any anecdote from your early years that in hindsight helped shape your career?
Typically, everyone believes one on ones with seniors. I would say have one on ones with your peers. Build mechanism. I'll make a list of people who you will meet once a quarter, once a month, once every 2 months. And whenever you go to meet them, just step back and see what do I want to talk. You do that over a period of time, those relationships are invaluable. And they may be your peers because 10 years from now, who will be where we don't know and who will be helpful how we don't know.
Welcome to the Career Starter Kit. My guest today is Amit Banda. Amit is building the future of finance as Director of Product Management at Amazon, empowering finance teams globally with cutting edge AI driven automation. As one of Amazon India's first finance employees, Amit has launched foundational innovations like cash on delivery and India's first fulfillment center. He's also successfully pivoted into global product leadership. Amit genuinely transforms finance into a strategic business ally. And so I'm super excited to bring you this episode focused on mastering cross-functional collaboration, where Amit shares why finance isn't about approvals but about spotting blind spots and helping business take smarter bets. The simple see it, fix it mindset that Amit leveraged to pivot from finance into product, and why he believes that visibility is overrated and chasing credit will slow you down. If you've ever wondered how to make finance your ally or how to get work done with partner teams, this episode is for you. In the Career Clinic, Amit answers the career questions you've asked us, like how do I get approval from finance without getting blocked? My manager has favorites, how can I get seen? And how do I handle a boss who micromanages? And so much more. If you enjoy this episode, do follow on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. It really helps support the podcast and ensures that you don't miss what's next. And with that, I bring you Amit Banda. Hi Amit, welcome to the Career Starter Kit. Amit, thank you so much for taking the time to speak.
I'm excited to be here, Hannah. Thank you for inviting.
All right, let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about your early journey, your early career.
So I did my master's in MBA. I did from a college called ITM in Navi Mumbai. Then I joined Reliance Infocom. Then it became Reliance Telecom. Now again in Reliance Infocom, I was part of. They had a subsidiary called Gateway Systems. I was leading that subsidiary. I spent 2 years at Reliance. After Reliance, I joined Future Group. Future Group at that point in time was starting an online company called futurebazaar.com. Thought let's sell something online. It was way earlier in 2006. I spent 18 months in that role and then I thought let me try it my own. So I started an e-commerce company. It was a fascinating journey. A finance person going into an entrepreneur. Again, ran for 3 years. I didn't do well. There are some learnings we had. We didn't offer COD. COD was very common. At that time of like in 2008, e-commerce was more NRI customers buying for their parents in India. So it was more giving them a platform to send some gift to their sister's mother on Mother's Day, Valentine's gift. It didn't do well. After 3 years, Amazon came my way. So I took that offer. And at that time, there were hardly any people who knew e-commerce in India. And I had that advantage because I started an e-commerce company. So it was easy for them to hire me. And I was among their first finance employee. In fact, sixth employee for whole India business. That was a big advantage. Yeah, I joined in their finance team. We built their first fulfillment center. It was in Mumbai. I still remember. Fulfillment center is a new concept in India. Like we know warehouse, we know go down. Like what is fulfillment center? It was the first time where we use a building to fulfill to end consumer, B2C. Warehouse and go down are more B2B. And we didn't know how to build a fulfillment center. We just built, how do we build a fulfillment center? And India was the first emerging country for US as well. We said, okay, people go to US, learn how do we do in the US, come here, replicate everything, lock, stock, and barrel. We went to US, everything, whatever was in US, we copied in India, and we launched. I still remember when we launched and the first inbound truck came and we couldn't inbound because the inbound dock was built based on US trailers. And in India we have trucks which are much smaller in size. That was a big learning, saying we have to customize for India. We can't build based on how we do elsewhere. So we had to break it down, build again. But that learning I took away when I moved to my next role, when we had joined the transportation finance team and India has cash on delivery. First time we are picking money from the customer, we don't do worldwide. So how do we customize for India? Where do we keep the money? Where do we transport? How much DA will carry? Even little things change. We have most of the prices on Amazon will be 199, 99, and some customers are like, give me my 1 rupee back, and it is we have to give it even if they don't ask. We owe it to them, so we need to make sure all delivery agents who go for delivery carry the change. It's a big process. Imagine doing that for 5,000 delivery agents at that time. Now there'll be millions. I don't know how we manage, right? So but every little thing need to be tied down. So then I spent couple of years in the transportation finance. Then I moved to the business finance team supporting wireless business, where I think I met you. So that was again unique to India. We never do flash sales. 2 o'clock, Xiaomi flash sale. Again, lot of learnings. After all this, I decided to move to the US. Last 5 years I've been in the US. I did a P&A role in the US starting with, which is basically in the worldwide operations work. Again, bad timing. I always have had bad timings, by the way. When I joined here, COVID stuck, and operations was most impacted because of COVID. Your cost goes off the roof. You have to maintain 6 feet distance. You can't not fulfill customer orders. We came out of COVID and then inflation stuck. Wages went up, fuel prices went up. There's suddenly war in Ukraine, Suez Canal crisis. We had to take inventory all the way through Africa. Everything went up, and profitability of Amazon as a company went down. So the level of scrutiny goes up. So I've gone through that phase, and after that I moved to a product team. It was natural extension for me. I did emerging market India, I did US, I did business finance, ops finance, FP&A, and then even when I moved here, I was very close to technology team in terms of how do we build, how do we design. And at some point of time, they came and told me, why don't you come over full time? And we created this role. So I moved to product management. 18 months I'm doing this role. Pretty excited. Again, timing is great, good, bad, whatever you call it, Gen AI. Suddenly the focus has shifted on how do we be more productive so fast. So that's a crux of my journey. It's been exciting so far. I feel good about it.
Amit, in the response that you gave also, what was very fascinating for me was that when you explained your early experience at Amazon and setting up the first fulfillment center, you were not giving a finance first view. It wasn't like P&L forward or financials forward. You were actually explaining the business problem and the on-ground challenges of execution. Is this kind of business first view or a business partner view something that you always had or something that you developed over time?
Finance is not accounting audit. People should be scared about. If you don't have business perspective and always look at numbers, it will not help you tell the overall story. It will also curtail innovation. Say you are a finance employee, if you are in a scenario where there is no data supporting we should spend money or we should not spend money. The business believes that we should spend money, finance believes that we should not spend money, and there is no data available. Those scenarios, for example, you can say I agree on some milestones with your leaders, agree on some success metrics, keep track of those. Hold each other accountable, but trust their judgment. Okay, I trust you. Give me some milestones, some numbers which we can validate in future, and own the process in terms of what mechanisms we will have to validate, how frequently we will do it. Set those mechanisms. Earn the trust with your business partners. You are letting them do what they believe they should do, and at the same time, you are holding them accountable.
This makes so much sense, right? Because I think the way I take it, what you're saying is that a lot of business proposals are really hypotheses, are really experiments, right? Instead of taking a stance that before the experiments happens, this is not going to succeed or this is what the outcome is going to be. Yes, play that role of questioning and kind of strengthening the proposition, but maybe it's more constructive to play the role of making sure that the experiment itself is diligent, right? Like we are holding ourselves accountable to the outcome, we're setting the right milestones to check in, what are our success metrics, what are our guardrails. Is that kind of the mindset you found useful?
Yes, and I would, and you, rather than challenging the final output, maybe challenge the assumptions. What went into those? We believe that we will achieve, let's say, $1 billion sales in Delhi. The market $1 billion. How are we computing the market? Right? Percentage. What is our plan? Which territories? When we'll attack? In those second, third layer of details, holding teams accountable to those second, third layer of details will really help them. Like even the business leader wants to see where he or she went wrong, and just like be the torchlight. Like just throw the light on them, saying this is an area maybe you need to inspect more. This is an area we didn't do well as we thought. What did we learn from it? It's a matter of time. You do that once, twice, the business partner will start trusting your judgment. You will build a good bond with them.
I love it. And I think that's such a constructive view, right? Almost being the conscience of business. Makes sense. Now, looking back at your early years now, Amit, one thing, again, as you're sharing your experience, which stands out is just the breadth of experience, right? Like you've done startup, you've done ops, you've done category, you've done even within finance, the breadth of sub functions. Looking back at your early years, what did you feel that you did well and what would you do differently now?
If I look back, all the different pieces I did, I feel like they were my building blocks. I feel like I don't realize that when we do those, we don't realize how they connect. But as we go through our journey, now when we realize they really connect and build us as a holistic person. So think of everything that you do, small, little, big, don't worry. Like think of what are those building blocks that are helping shape your career over a longer period of time. In fact, when I was working with Bazaar, e-commerce company, I was in the finance team. We had an outsourced customer service team, and the CS leader left, volunteered to do a CS leader role along with my finance role, saying, let me try. I used to sit in customer service, hear customer calls. It's a different experience. It gives you a different perspective of things. You can only connect dots when you have different perspectives. Otherwise, you'll not be able to. So I think that worked really well for me. And so when people think of career is not always up. Career is always what skill sets you need to build. Like what do I need to learn? What do I need to do differently? Within finance, you can do FP&A, you can do operations, supply chain finance, you can do business finance, category finance. You can do accounting roles as well. They also teach us a lot. Career, rest all will flow. If you get those building blocks right, if you have the right skill, imagine a world where you have two people you need to promote as a leader of the company. You would naturally tend to promote someone who has seen much more breadth than someone who has been in one team all for 15 years.
And that's kind of counterintuitive, right? Because a lot of times, especially the earlier growth is much faster if in a linear path, right? But I think what you're saying is that over a period of time, that doesn't stay the case. And actually, more sustainable long term growth comes with the breadth as well, right?
Many companies do that by design. Like if I look at old FMCG companies like Unilever's or Procter and Gamble, they hire people and then they put 6 months in X role, 6 months in Y role. They give different roles by design. They have seen how to grow leaders. They don't put you in one role and make you do the same role for 10 years. You don't grow as them. So they help you build the skill. So in two choices you have early in the career. Should I grow vertically? Because you are very hungry for growth. And you don't think of growing across building skill sets, which is where it hampers you in the long run. When you go in the long run, 10 years later, the ability to learn goes down, the ability to pick up things goes down. So the earlier you do in your life, saying, let me do a sales role for 6 months, let me do a finance role for 6 months, let me follow.
Is this something that you feel you did well?
I definitely did well. I did it by design, I don't know. By choice or it happened with me. But when I look back today, I definitely, that's an area I think that really went well for me. It just happened.
I was talking to someone else in a different episode, and I think their philosophy was something similar, which was just go with the flow, just say yes. Is that something that you connect to? This idea of just saying yes to what comes your way?
Yes, though you don't know, trust yourself, you'll figure out. When you were a kid, you didn't know how to walk. You figured out.
Yeah.
You didn't know science in college or you didn't know math in your college, you figured out. You figure
Yeah.
this out as well. Just say yes and jump in it. You will learn. Yeah, at very young age, you learn much faster. The earlier you say yes, the better.
What would you do differently or something that you wish you knew early on?
I think the value of education, probably if I knew earlier, I would have, like, my family is a business family. When we are growing up, we started with a mental model that, okay, you grow up, you take care of the retail store my father owns, and that is how generations have been built up. So our career was more focused on, okay, degree, we need to get it. Which degree was never a debate. So when you have a focusing, I need a degree, you prefer the, okay, which is the easiest one, rather than saying, where do you want to challenge? I would have loved to take engineering. I was very good at math, and I didn't take engineering. It's a big defect. If I
You
look
feel?
back and if we have time machine, we can go back and change. I would definitely change it. I think that was one piece that I miss. Now, when I move to a product role, I've learned a lot over a period of time, but I am still not there compared to many others. I think there's a lot still to learn for me.
So, education, even the early learning,
Yes,
is
every little thing. My father had a habit, like every morning we used to go at 8 o'clock and newspaper wala comes. And we used to, like, it was a single newspaper. He will take 2 pages, I will take 2 pages and read, and then we will swap. So those small habits
wow.
build reading habits, saying what's happening in the ecosystem. Like, those help you connect the dots. So even little things, whatever you do in your life, keep building on those, keep doing those for years. If you read a newspaper for 20 years, imagine the amount of wealth you generate. You can say, even now I can say, oh, this scenario happened 10 years back, this company, and this is where their strategy failed, and you can learn from them and see what you will do differently.
I completely agree because I find that I'm still learning more from experiences even long ago because you're still connecting the dots, right? So even now I'm like, okay, this is like at that time I took away maybe let's say the executional learnings from the experience. But as you keep going and you keep reflecting, you then see the same experience in a different light. You understand it better. What are the moving parts, right? So that kind of compounds over time.
I agree. I think it comes subconsciously to you because you have learned
Yeah.
something and it feeds in your mind, and now you are able to connect the dots. This is how I want. We underestimate or underrate the skills we generate over a period of time. I think that's one thing I would encourage everyone to look at and see what can I learn. It may be something everyone find meaningless. It's okay.
One more thing that you mentioned, and I have to ask, I'm curious. You mentioned that you come from a business family and yet you've built a corporate career for yourself. You did have an entrepreneurship stint early on. Was this switch to corporate intentional? Did you face friction about it? How did this end up happening?
So it didn't start intentional. When I started, I was like, let me do couple of years, learn how this happens, and then go back. This learning will help me. And then after a couple of years, I said, let me do another 2 years. And those 2 year milestones kept moving. And then at some point of time, I thought I'm doing so, like I'm learning a lot, I'm happy, I'm independent. Why would I go back? And I continued my career.
So you got all your entrepreneurial kicks at Amazon, basically.
Yes, and I did a startup before that as well. and I
Yes.
could leverage that at Amazon as well. Yeah, when you hear startups, you hear a high velocity company, but funding is a constraint. Amazon is a company which has high velocity, it acts like a startup with no constraint on funding. You get best of the both worlds.
Yep, I agree. Now, for a lot of us, moving from the student life to the corporate life, it's a very different world, right? Because the way you are as a student is very different. What was that transition like for you?
Oh, I had a very bad transition. I still remember I didn't know Excel. I didn't know PowerPoint. I had a girlfriend in my college who used to do it for me, and then suddenly I came in a corporate. I realized there is no one with me, and I had to
Yeah.
learn pivot tables, VLOOKUP myself. Yeah, it was a different experience. I was like, oh my god, now you have thrown me in the river. I need to learn how to swim by myself.
Yeah, being a finance professional without Excel chops is sink or swim, right?
Yeah. True, like I never thought that way at that point of time. And I always relied on someone saying, you are doing it, do it for me as well. But suddenly I joined Reliance and the volume of data is huge in Reliance. In fact, even I had to learn MS Access. Excel has row limitations. So yeah, I had to do it. That's one thing. But second thing, when I speak to many people and when I mentor people, one thing I have observed when you are in college, when you are in your personal life, before you join your professional life, you choose your friends. Like in your class, if there are 30 people, you choose, oh, these two are my good friends. The rest I talk less or medium, right? And when you choose friends, you choose people who you like. When you come to your professional life, you don't get that choice. This is the person you have to work with. This is the person who is your manager. And suddenly you become stuck. Even social media, I think, is exaggerating this. Like, you start watching reels, it knows what you like and give you only those reels. You never get a diverse perspective. You never learn the skill set of managing difficult people, managing people who are not like you. You may find them difficult because they are not like you, but in reality they may not be difficult. I think that force yourself saying, oh, I don't know this person, I know this person is very different, but let me go try to have conversations. Because in your career you will not have a choice that you had in your college. You will have to work with people, whether even if you do business, even if you are a working professional, you have to work with people who you like or you don't like. Rather than learning at that point of time and going through that learning curve, I would say do it early.
That
One
makes
thing,
so much sense, and I hadn't looked at it like that. Did you have a learning experience on this, or how do you kind of practice this?
I went through a phase, I went through my own learning curve as well, and some of it was not easy.
Yes.
You have to have different perspective and you have to speak to different kind of people to build that perspective. If you speak to the same set of friends every day, you will get only one side of the view. So that would be one advice I would give to most of them. And you can do that only in your college. Otherwise, you'll still have to do the hard way. I have gone through it.
I think that's very valuable. Any other anecdote or kind of mistake from your early years that in hindsight helped shape your career? Or maybe some incident or some people that helped you start leveling up early on?
I think the other piece I would say is one on ones. And when I say one on ones, typically everyone believes one on ones with seniors, with the leaders. I would say have one on ones with your peers. Build mechanism. I will meet them every quarter. Put it on the calendar. It will force you to meet. I will meet them every month. I'll make a list of people who you will meet once a quarter, once a month, once every 2 months, once every 2 weeks, once a week, and just put it on the calendar. It will force you to meet them, and you do that consistently for 2 years, you will build a different bond. And whenever you go to meet them, just step back and see what do I want to talk. Prepare yourself. You may struggle for once, maybe twice, but third time you'll figure out your way. And you both will find a common ground. You do that over a period of time, those relationships are invaluable.
Are these people in your working team? Like who are the people that you should connect
Even
with?
in your previous team, when you move teams as well, just keep those connects going. Don't let go saying, yeah, my life has moved on. No. And they may be your peers because 10 years from now, who will be where we don't know and who will be helpful how we don't know. think more long term. If you think, oh, in this role it doesn't help me, that's very short term view. If you take a long term view, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, we are all smart young people. Everybody will be in a very different place, and then those bonds will really help.
That's very valuable. And I think the piece in that, which is so tactical, is a lot of times we think of one on ones as one size fits all, but it's not. There are people you meet weekly, there are people you meet monthly, there are people you might meet once in 6 months. But even that still has value. Like, don't let it drop off.
Yeah, I would have 54 one-on-ones when I see my list.
Wow.
I spend a lot of time on my one-on-ones because they really help you build bond, and it helps you earn trust, and things move faster as well.
And what do you discuss? Is it leisure? Is it work problems? Is it a mix of
I think we have to do both. Like their family, how are they going through? What are their challenges? And those pieces not happen in the first two one-on-ones. Maybe seventh one or eighth one, they will open up. You will open up. And that's how bonds are built. You have to do it consistently. You cannot do like once in a blue moon.
I think that's valuable. I want to dig deeper into your journey, Amit. You went on to being like the first finance employee at Amazon India. And you were not just a finance head, you were a partner in many of the early milestones, right? From setting up fulfillment centers like you share or starting the cash on delivery process. Was there a switch in terms of going from finance to this?
In the future group, I was in the online venture. So that was an easy piece for me. I understood a bit of e-commerce, easy, but I didn't know how large companies operate. I had to learn how things happen in a company. Like group is much more small, localized. When you move to Amazon, it's approvals you have to take from head office, which is Seattle based. So those are things I had to learn, and yeah, some of them learned easy way, some of them learned little harder way, but yes, to go through that. And every role you change, you have to go through some learning curve. Few months you'll find like, oh, it's a bad career choice I made, but after a few months you'll settle down, you'll learn the tricks of the trade, you'll navigate the system, you'll know the business a little bit more, and you'll find your way. I would say that you always have to start somewhere, you'll find your way.
Now, for someone who's starting their career, maybe let's say a finance professional or just multifunctional partner in general, any learnings that you have about how they think of their role vis-a-vis business, and maybe what are the top few things they can do to be effective? So let's say if I'm starting out in finance, what should I understand about business and how should I think about my role for business?
At least my experience, you can do your role good if you know the business well. So finance people, I would recommend, should not sit in office alone. They should go on the field. If their business partner is a salesperson, go with the business partner on the field. Spend time there, how things happen. If your business partner is someone on supply chain, go to the fulfillment center, go to transportation network, sit along with those drivers and do delivery. Go on the ground and see how things happen. Learn the business, spend time learning the business. I think just look at numbers with the story behind the numbers. And the story behind the numbers will come when you actually have gone deeper and seen the business yourself.
Anything to be more effective? So one is just understanding how should I think about my role. So for example, business is going out, like let's say sales is going out and getting more leads, maybe marketing is doing demand gen. What is my role, let's say as a finance stakeholder, that I owe the business?
Experience, Anna, I would say you sure know what are the goals of your business. What is your business wanting to achieve? What do they want to achieve at the end of the year? What are their goals? And here, as a finance partner to the business, I would say you would have to partner saying how do you help them achieve the goals? Or if they are missing the goal, how do you inform them earlier or build mechanisms and process that they know earlier that something is going wrong and we can course correct. If they are successful, you are successful. I think if the business grows, you will grow along with the business. So how do we partner in helping them grow so that they grow and you grow along with them? Like if you help the business grow from 100 million to 10 billion, you are a finance partner for $10 billion business, isn't it?
Yep. I love that articulation of if the business grows, you grow. You mentioned helping business build mechanisms to course correct early on. Any examples of how you practice that?
Monthly reviews. If your sales are growing, if you have to grow from 100 to 200 million, in December you will not suddenly sell $200 million of inventory. Like, it will happen gradually. Have monthly reviews saying what was our monthly number, where are we, and what worked well, what didn't go well, what did we thought will happen this month, it didn't happen. Just have that conversation, and business is smart enough, they will realize, okay, this is not working, what do I need to do? Because they have to achieve their goals, and you are helping them achieve their goals. They'll be very happy and they'll appreciate if you do that.
Makes sense. Similarly, if I switch tables, right, as a person who's starting out in business, whether that's sales, marketing, product, any of the functions, how should they think about finance? When do I loop finance in? Where can finance help me?
Yeah, I
Any
think
thoughts on
that's a
that?
tricky one, because that comes harder. End of the day, your business will scale only to the extent of money you have. So finance, you will not be able to do successful business if you don't understand finance. And when I say finance, it doesn't mean accounting. You need to understand money coming in and money coming out. Accounting is secondary. Cash flow is more important. Am I getting money from vendors on time? Am I paying or getting more credit period from my whosoever I need to pay? I think cash flow is one thing they have to understand. They need not learn accounting. I would say they can hire a CA, whether it will be account X or account Y, what will be the rate of depreciation, they need not worry about those. But they definitely need to look at bank statement. How much money I have in my bank, how much money would come this month, how much money I need to pay this month, how many months of losing money, how much runway I have. Continue losing money at this rate, at what point I'll be like left with no money. I think those are pieces. So I would say, when you are in a business, learn to look at bank statement, cash flows. Don't worry about accounting, finance. All those are secondary. I think money in the bank is what matters.
And that's such an important distinction that you made, right? Which is the cash flow or the actual flow of the money versus the accounting of it. What are two or three questions? If I'm a young professional, I'm working with a finance partner, what are the two or three questions that I should be asking them? Like, let's say in the one on ones that I set up, so that I get most value out of that partnership.
If you're setting up a new business, ask yourself how much you need to spend upfront. Whether you need to pay rental deposit for your office, furniture, and then ask yourself, saying how much fixed cost do I need to incur every month? Whether it is rental, salaries for 5 people, electricity, and assume that you have zero business for the next 12 months. Will you be able to sustain? Don't be optimistic. Assume there is a zero business. Can I sustain my business for 12 months if nothing works out? And if you believe you can, then you should start. If you believe you can't, then identify opportunities saying, do I need so much fixed cost? Do I need so big office? Can I cut down while I experiment? You are learning, you are experimenting. To the drawing board and say, where do I cut? And
How lean can you be?
And if you are able to cut and you think now you have a 12-month runway, go ahead and do it. You can always expand your office if the business grows. That's a easy thing to do.
That completely makes sense if you're starting with a business. Now, if you start in a company, a lot of times, kind of that first interaction with finance comes when you need an approval on something, right? And that's why also you feel nervous about approaching finance, right? Because they have kind of the go no go in some ways in some of these things. How should I think about preparing for that finance go no go meeting? What will finance be looking for? How do I proactively think about those things from that lens and be more prepared?
So the approval process will not happen overnight. Like, if you are spending $1 million, you wouldn't know you are spending it now. You would be having conversations months before you start spending. Right?
Yes.
So if I were you, I would go talk to the finance team saying, we are having this conversation, I want to pick your brain. Saying, how should we think about this? Like, get those signals early on so that they are also not surprised. They feel equally involved in the decision making. They feel they have been partnered, consulted, and when the approval process comes, it will be a smooth ride for you. Be like, yeah, I know this. The team involved me. I know why they are spending, where they are spending. Is this right amount? Yes, I believe right. This is the right amount, and they'll approve. Just the involvement should not be when you need an approval. The involvement should be much earlier. That's the differentiation I would encourage.
If you had to explain it again to somebody who's starting out in the business side, what is the role of finance for the company?
The role of finance ideally is to hold the teams accountable, to shine the light on the problems. Sometimes everyone keeps running on their milestones, but finance team is the one who steps back and brings all of these together and say these are 10 different things happening while every one of you know one of those. Collectively this is what is happening, and now when we know all collectively what's happening, let's discuss what we need to do differently. Then we can step back and think what should we do differently.
Do you think of finance almost as the conscience keeper of the organization, keeps people honest?
Yes, I think they have to play that role. The person who is driving the car wouldn't know that they are over speeding. They may know but they are so much into driving. The person sitting next to them will be the one who is most scared and can give you the feedback saying you are driving too fast probably, or you didn't take a proper cut.
Yeah, that's clear way to think about it, right? For both sides. And I think that also gives context to the approval, go, no go aspect of it, which is what finance is trying to do, is be the conscience keeper. And if you engage with them early, you can incorporate the inputs into the thinking of the proposal itself.
And they should play the other way around as well. If the business leader is driving the car so slow and you see the road is empty, you see the speed limit is higher, finance should play a role saying maybe we need to move fast, we are going too slow on this.
I'm trying to think of finance doing that. I think the question on where can we get more revenue from is the equivalent of that, right? Where are we leaving dollars on the table?
Where are we leaving dollars on the table? Finance will do a good job.
How do we get more dollars on the table, maybe?
Yeah, how do we get more revenue? How do we get more top line? Because top line is not easy. It comes with some amount of risk. You'll have to take some risk. It needs some investment, which doesn't come naturally to everyone.
Since you mentioned risk, I will double click on this, right? Because in a way, again, we said conscience keeper, but the role of finance is also that balance between business on the risk. How do you think of the role of finance vis-a-vis risk?
So, again, what kind of risk? Is it a financial risk? And financial risk in terms of whether there will be some liability if we do something wrong, and that will make the company bankrupt. If we spend so much money, our run rate will go down. If we don't, we'll have only 6 months of money in our bank account. Just let them know, saying, or just making everyone aware, saying, are we all okay with this amount of risk? I believe we should not take it. Make them aware. I have observed in some pockets where we think the business people are dumb. Finance need to tell them. It's just they have different priorities. And the role of finance is just to tell them, making them aware of it, and they are equally smart or maybe smarter than finance folks, and they will know, probably I'm not thinking this right.
I think again it comes back to your articulation of shining the light, right? Making sure the blind spots are not there, minimizing blind spots. And the more, as we're discussing it, I'm thinking of it as articulating that risk and making business realize this is the risk, this is the trade-off, so the decisions are better informed.
And they can still take a call saying, yeah, I'm willing to take a risk, which is fine. At least we did our job, we highlighted them. And there might be, the risk will materialize as well. And when the risk materializes, I wouldn't expect a finance person to go and say, I told you so. Right? Because everything will have some probability. There is a 1% chance this will happen. Not because you told so this happened. It could have happened. It is fine. I think we both agreed that we are aware of the risk. Let's take it and let's collectively take it. And something goes wrong, we both agreed and not like I told you. I think that's where trust will come in. When something bad happens, saying, okay, now this has happened, how do we fix it? Is a better answer than saying, I told you we should not do this.
I think that comes with some level of maturity, but that's certainly a more constructive way to have that conversation. So we've discussed role of finance, role of business, and how do the two learn about each other early in the career. I'm going to come back to your personal journey. I want to ask about some of your early growth. When was your first promotion? Like, were you fast? Were you slow? And looking back, does it even matter? How do you think about it now?
I had both experiences. My first promotion was fast, then it took way too long. And looking back, it didn't matter honestly. When I moved to US 5 years back, I really restarted my career. I could have been promoted faster if I was in India. But looking back, it didn't matter. I think I feel good on the career choice I made. I learned a lot being here. So think of your career as like a 40-year marathon. When you always use that lens of a 40-year marathon, 1 2 years here and there won't matter. If I become a 28, someone will become a 29, someone will become a 26. Absolutely okay, doesn't matter. We still have a long way to go, and somewhere people who have gone slow will catch up in future. People who have gone fast will slow down in future. But after a certain level, what will matter is how much knowledge you have gained, and that knowledge will be based on different roles you have done, different skills you have gained. So I would encourage, think of it like a 40-year marathon.
I think that's a great perspective. And I think the point on what ensures longevity is not the same thing which ensures early velocity, right?
You generally tend to think, oh, my batchmate got promoted, I'm still here. Fine.
I remember, I think early in the career, like every month can feel like, right, you're ahead, you're behind, because you have that kind of, you don't have perspective yet. It's not easy to build, it takes time.
I think I would add, Anna, and I would encourage everyone to think about is step beyond your boundaries. When I say step beyond your boundaries, I mean do things that you are uncomfortable with. Do things more than you are expected to do.
How have you practiced that?
I'll take my example. Generally, in a product role, you write a press release or a FAQ, we call it PRFAQ or working backward document. And we write before we launch a new product. All for new ideas, we have to write a PRFAQ.
Yeah.
And generally, the product team writes a PRFAQ. I was in the finance team and I wrote a PRFAQ saying we need this product.
Wow.
And when I wrote that, I was very clear saying we need this, we need to solve this problem. Like I use a mental model saying see it, fix it. When you see some defect, go fix it. Don't wait for someone else to fix it. When you see it, fix it. I saw a defect, I wrote it, and I know I couldn't fix it myself. I need tech help. So I wrote a PRFAQ. PRFAQ was my starting point of my product journey. I didn't realize then. I realized when I moved to the product team where they said, oh, this is what you had asked to build 3 years back and we are building. And they're like, okay, I know the problem, why we were building this. And you don't realize when you step the boundary. You just did it because that will help you in future. Just step the boundary, go beyond. It will help you sooner or later.
If you see it, fix it. I think that needs to be on a t-shirt. With that, we're going to go into the second segment of our conversation, which we call Career Clinic. I'm going to share some situations with you that people have shared that they're finding challenging, and I would love to get your take on it. All right. I think this is one of the challenging ones, and it is about working with partner teams. So this person is facing challenges with getting things moving with the partner, multifunctional partner. They say that I've followed up by email, I've spoken multiple times to the partner teams. They keep saying that they'll do it, but then they don't do the work. And I don't want to escalate and spoil my relationship, but what can I do?
I would say, again, it depends on short term versus long term. I would start with a long term example. Let's say we both need to deliver something in 6 months. How do we hold them accountable? And then we should start thinking about, I would say, mechanisms. Every week I will send a status, send it to their managers, your managers. Every week, every fortnight, depending on the situation or every month, set up a meeting where you meet, assign each other's responsibility, send minutes of those meetings, and when you meet next time, check where are we on this. Keep sending these emails to the like your manager or their manager. It's not an escalation, it's a mechanism. You send it every week, I'm doing that. And they themselves will realize that, oh, this week the report will go, let me start work backwards. And define a predefined schedule. Every Wednesday, this report will go at 2 p.m. They themselves will have pressure saying, oh, before the 2 p.m. deadline, I have to do something that there has been some progress on the report. Not escalate, not spoil your relations while making them do things as well. That's one thing. Second piece could be you both have a difference of opinion. I have seen writing works, which is where you should write, this is my opinion. Can you write down your opinion? Because when you start writing, it will force the thinking, saying, is it really what I want to do? And then once you write it down, then you both should agree who is the tiebreaker. I know you have a point of view, I have a point of view, and which is fair. When you write down, make sure it is balanced. They have seen it as well. You have seen it as well. Both the perspectives are incorporated. And then ask who is the tiebreaker.
Who should be the tiebreaker?
Both of you can agree, your peer and you can agree, like who is the tiebreaker? Is our manager the tiebreaker or some other peer the tiebreaker? Let's go to them. And whatever the tiebreaker decides, we'll move ahead. We both will commit. I think that would be another way not to hurt your relationship with your stakeholders. There will be areas where you'll have a different point of view.
I think I really like the idea of, first of all, using writing as a mechanism, because I think it's a very powerful mechanism to clarify your thinking. I think also the point of doing it together, right? Because a lot of times we fall into this like us versus them and I'm going to convince them. But being that partner and sorting through it, I think just that approach sounds so productive.
Yeah, I would use that. And also, again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. You will get in your career people with different perspectives, and we have to respect their perspective. It may not be same as you. They are not. There is no right or wrong. They are just different. They have an opinion about it. It doesn't mean we will avoid them. We will not talk to them. We have to confront and talk to them and see how do we work with them. How do we build relationship with them. I think this is something, Amit, I can share. Like, I learned the hard way because, as you know, in Amazon, earns trust an important leadership principle. And I used to think that earns trust is a lot about not surprising people in terms of you do what you're told to do. If you're not able to do it, you give them a heads up. And I think that part of it, I was very intentional about. But I had to learn that earns trust is also about not surprising people with your disagreement. If you disagree with them, tell them early, tell them one on one, instead of, later at a forum that it comes up that, oh, actually, I have a different point of view. That's not productive. So, earns trust is not just like no surprises on the work, but also no surprises on disagreement. You have to be able to say where you disagree. Again, that actually earns trust vis a vis agreeing on the surface but having other things in your mind and then not resolving them. And when you disagree, Anna, you disagree for a reason. You don't disagree because I don't like you, right? Yeah. You disagree for saying this is why I disagree. If you write it down, this is why I disagree, and if you make them write down saying this is why they agree, let the tiebreaker decide. And I suspect that a lot of time in that process of writing down, you will clarify your thinking, they will clarify your thinking, you may not even need the tiebreaker. Agree. Right? Then you both will come. Most of the time this happens. You'll say, yeah, when I write down, I think I'm being stupid. Yeah, or I didn't see this before. Now I see the value of your point and how it ties to what we're trying to do. I agree. Let's move on to our next career clinic question. So this one is about working with managers. Again, that's a new equation when you start working in corporate. This person says that they're feeling quite frustrated because I worked really hard on this project. I built out these slides, but when it came to actually presenting that to leadership, my manager didn't call out to my skip level during the presentation. They presented it as their work when I'm the one who put in all the effort. Now, I don't want to sound petty and I don't want to ruin my relationship with my manager, obviously, but I also feel like people don't know that I did the work. So, how do I handle this without coming across as, ungrateful or just ruining the relationship? Should you worry about that?
getting credit for your work?
Is this something to worry about? At the end of the day, success of both manager and the employee depends on each other. If the employee is successful, the manager will be successful. And if the manager is successful, the employee will be successful. It's always two ways. Every person has a different personality. It may not be dependent on your manager, it may be on your skip manager saying, I don't want to talk to four people in the room. I only want to talk to you. You don't know what's happening between your skip and the manager. It may be your skip manager being comfortable having one-on-one conversations than having a broad team conversation. You have worked on it. I'm sure you would have learned a lot on it, and that is more important. And second, when you have worked on it, I'm sure you would know more than your manager who is presenting because you have actually got your hands dirty. And if he has any follow up coming up saying, oh, what about this? He would not be in a position to answer. Skip would anyway know that somebody else did it. And it is absolutely okay. I wouldn't worry too much saying my manager is presenting my work. It's not a defect, in my mind at least. I don't take it as a defect.
Got it. And I think, like you're saying, right, that perspective that it's a long career, you will have all kinds of managers.
In 40 years of career, you'll have all kinds of managers and you'll have to live with all kinds of managers. Right? You can't say these managers I won't work with. There's no choice. This is not a college anymore.
Yeah. I think you said that at the friend, right? That you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your manager. Another tricky situation with your manager. So this person thinks that because they're not co-located, maybe they're not getting preference. They say, I'm based out of Madurai and my manager and my other teammates are based out of Chennai, and I feel that my manager favors the teammates in Chennai because they spend all the day together, they get projects assigned before I even get to know about them. So should I confront my manager on this, or what can I really do?
This is a real problem, by the way. Like, this is proximity bias. People who are near to me, I have bias towards them. I wouldn't use the word confront. Maybe I would talk to the manager for sure. One of the things of coming back to office is like coffee corridor conversations.
Yes.
And those conversations, you learn a lot, you build trust. Managers by design tend to give work to people who they trust. And when people who are close to them, who they talk more often, tend to be on the side of where they trust. So this is a real problem. But I think in this case, I would say talk to the manager, saying I am at a disadvantage because I'm not local. I miss these coffee conversations. What mechanisms we need to have that I get plugged into these coffee conversations. I think this is much better way of saying I want to confront you. Why are you not telling me? Like, just say what. How do we make sure that I get to hear, and that will build trust. Then think, agree on some mechanism. Like, we have a weekly calls where you give me tips, or should we have a team meeting, or should we do something else? What ideas do we have collectively? We'll just build trust, and then he or she, whosoever is the manager, will come to you and say, okay, why don't you do this?
I think that sounds like the way to go. Next question. So this person is learning to prioritize. They're saying that I used to say yes to everything because I was young, I was starting, I was ambitious, and now I struggle to say no. How can I learn to prioritize my work and focus on what really matters?
I've seen this pattern in many places. It's at least my belief is this comes from our upbringing. Our mom never wants to hear no.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Right?
don't practice this at home.
So many times you'll be beaten by your mom, your teacher, because you said no.
Yeah. And then you come to the workplace and you have to learn to say no. It's part of your job. Yeah.
So your mind is groomed saying no is negative. So you tend
Yeah.
to say yes to everything. So I think first is you have to decide how to say no. In my mind, what you say is less important. How you say becomes more important. Like, rather than saying no, you can say, this looks probably challenging. Let me get back to you saying what can be done or what we need to trade off. You are not saying no, but you are leaving the message that this could be no in future and giving the time to the other person to process and digest. Meanwhile, they may also think of other ideas, saying, probably if this person doesn't do, how do I get it done through others? Or this is, but leave that message. Now, let's say you didn't leave the message, you said yes. And now you have to prioritize. At least I use a simple method which is like effort versus value. I would always do something which is low effort and high value. Those are like quick wins. Like I do this, I'll get success fast. I would use that metric in terms of low effort, high impact. Do that first. Low impact, high effort, I will never do it. So use that mental model. Also, there are books available in Amazon. We at some point of time they mandated you have to read five choices. Five choices
Wow.
is a good book that says what's urgent, what's important, when you prioritize urgent, when you prioritize important. So I think there are mechanisms well established. There are books out there that helps you. I think it's not a hard thing. Once you say yes, you have to commit to the yes. First, we have to learn to say no, and but if you didn't say no, then it cannot be passive no. You have said yes in the meeting. Let's be active yes. Then saying it's oh I said yes half-heartedly. No, there is nothing called as half-hearted. You said yes.
The insight of why we find it so difficult to say no, how it links to our upbringing, to the point of once it's a yes, it's an active yes. I agree. Here's the next question. So this one is about visibility at work, and I know this can you hear so much about it when you're starting out, and it can be a signal to noise problem, right? Everyone says that you need to be more visible at work to do high visibility work to get promoted, but how do you actually do that?
Visibility is very overrated. There is a thin line of difference between getting exposure and being exposed. So you go for visibility, there is a risk you'll be exposed. Visibility is not always a good thing. It comes from our movies that we have gone through. We only look at the main characters, not the side characters. And we believe the main character is the hero of the story. But yeah, sometimes it is okay to lie low. I think I would recommend saying there have been times in my career where I stayed low. I was moving to the US. I decided in January that I will move to the US. From there, I had to find a role in the US. Once I find a role, I have to go through some visa process, which again takes months. And in this period, that was a long period, 9 to 10 months, my manager hired my backfill, which is fair as well to him. So I have zero visibility, I have zero work, I have nothing in my hand. So I also went through that phase in my life. What do you do? Again, you can crib about it saying, what do I do? Or you can say, okay, now I have this time in the world which I didn't have. What did I not do that I want to do? I remember I took around 300 interviews for Amazon. We have a concept called bar raiser because I didn't have other work to do. Everyone asked me, "Can you interview? We are planning to hire this person. Can you be in our loop?" My answer was default yes.
Wow.
And even now in Seattle, when I meet people, they say, "Oh, you interviewed me," and I'm like, "I don't remember." But yeah, like how do you use your time productively, and at the same time you don't feel guilty? You didn't do anything. You contributed to the company. You contributed overall building, like we call it, giving back to Amazon. You contributed back to Amazon in some way or the other when you had your time. You can't do it when you are in your day job, and this is like I said yes, this is among least priority item for me. Now you can make this a priority. So I would find meaning in things you want to do. Don't worry about visibility. If something makes you excited, if you are passionate about something, just do it. If you do that, visibility is a matter of time. People will get to know about it. Again, this goes back to my mental model 40-year marathon. You don't want to be seen every day. 40 years of career, you will be seen. You will grow in your career. Just keep persistence is important. Keep doing things better. You do less is fine, but whatever you do much better than what others have expected you to do.
I think there's a pattern I'm starting to see, Amit. Just really focus on the learning and focus on the delivery, right? So, with that, we get into our last and final segment, which we call Fast Track. I will ask you some questions about your learnings, either in your career or something very specific and tactical, and you can share whatever's top of mind for you. Here we go into Fast Track. Let's talk about your learnings. One learning that unlocked growth for you.
Doing beyond what you are expected to do.
Looking around corners. A small habit that has made a big difference in your career.
Be persistent. Don't give up.
What do you think is the most underrated skill early in your career?
One-on-ones were definitely underrated. One-on-ones with your peers not just your with seniors we still don't underrate, but with peers we underrate it. I think that was most underrated. I would do that more often.
Actually, I never thought of it like that, which is one on one with peers. One thing young professionals should do more often.
Build your network, and one-on-ones is also a way to build your network, but definitely build your network. Even if people have different opinions, respect them. It is okay, and it is by design people have different opinions.
A mistake that most young professionals make.
Don't think of your career as 1 month, 1 day, 2 months. Think like long journey. Think more long term, and also be ready. You will have headwinds, you will have tailwinds, you will have good days, you will have bad days. This is part of life. When you have bad days, don't give up. Like, fine, just say this is part of life. I'll soon have good day. Take a mental model that inspires you and keep looking at it.
I think I've heard this analogy of viewing it like test cricket, where sometimes your only job is just to not lose the wicket, right? Because not every ball you're supposed to hit it out of the park. Sometimes in your career, you'll have phases where you're just holding the wicket, and that's okay. That's part of building an innings.
Yeah, we are in a T20 world now.
Yeah.
Right? People want to see every ball going out of the ground.
Let's go to some specific situations. One thing you should never say in a meeting.
Never say no, and also never say yes immediately. Don't answer with yes or no. Direct answer, maybe let me look at it, or maybe I think we can do it. Let me come back to you.
Because I'm worried that people might take this as don't be decisive. I think that's not what you're saying. Is it more in the sense of don't take a hard position without considering?
Yes, I think don't be impulsive, I would say.
Soft skill that's more valuable than people think.
How you say is more important, not what you say. You may give a bad news, it is absolutely okay. How do you say that bad news is more important.
One question every junior employee should ask their manager.
I ask my manager this every year, saying a year from now, how would you know I am successful? Like what measures you will use to determine I am successful? It gives you way to read his mind and then work backwards from there, saying if these are success metrics in his head, how do I get there?
Begin with the end in mind. Best way to ask for help at work.
You should ask for help. I recently read a book that says people who ask for help earn trust more. And I've seen that as well. Like if I don't ask and everyone asks me, everyone reaches out to me saying I need help, and I don't reach out to anyone, I am not building trust. I should be vulnerable. I should not hesitate saying, I have gone through this challenge. Everyone goes through. Like, don't worry about being judged. Everyone goes through in their life. Someone will speak up, someone won't speak up. That's the only difference. Just say and be vulnerable, earn trust.
Okay. How to handle a boss who micromanages?
Before they ask you, tell them. Like, be proactive. You know, it's their personality. You know, the manager wants to know what's happening, and that's why it's their personality. Before they ask you what's happening, go tell them what's happening. It will earn trust.
I agree. I think over communicate. A lot of times, what we think is micromanaging is just different expectations of what needs to be communicated. So just over communicate.
And micromanagement may not be a feature. It may be because he don't want to be blindsided when his or her manager asks. The manager doesn't want to be blindsided if they skip asking what's happening. Some people like to be over prepared. And when you know your manager wants to be over prepared, I think the employee need to do the job saying, okay, let me fulfill that. How do I proactively make them over prepared rather than they asking? And at some point they will not micromanage. They'll be like, I anyway get to know. I trust you and we are good.
So this is one question we love to end with, which is one book or blog that you've enjoyed reading or you recommend to others.
There is a book called Who Moved My Cheese. I am very inspired with that book. It tells you that you cannot be in a comfort zone for very long. At some point of time, you'll realize the cheese is over. I'm very inspired by that book. I keep reading that just as a reminder for myself. The good piece of that book is वो मोटी भी नहीं है पतली है.
Yes.
Right? You can read
Right.
in one sitting and done.
Yes. So it's good to reread as well. I think it is certainly inspiring for me. I think there were so many aha moments, right from like how to think of the role of finance, how to think about approvals, how can finance think about contributing to business, but just very true to earth insights about like why we find it difficult to say no, the fact that you're not going to choose your manager, you're going to work with a wide variety of people. So many ahas for me in this conversation. Thank you so much, Amit, for taking the time. This has been really delightful, and I'm so excited to share this forward.
No, thank you, Anna. I think 15 years back, if somebody would have given me advices like this, it would have been very different. I would not have gone through what I went through in my life. But thanks to you, I think many young professionals are getting career advices much early in their life. Thank you for doing this.